Good morning. Dennis Wilson here from the wonderful state of Montana, the blue sky state. Well, not right now. We're having serious fires throughout Montana and the rest of the Pacific Northwest. I'm sure you've been reading about them. Very tragic, especially that area over around Spokane right now. Um, I am welcome you to my podcast. I hope you will tune in when you have time and journey with me down that road of history, looking for the reasons and the ways and the people that helped bring us to the document that we call the U.S. Constitution. I would like to take a moment, and a I have a condition. It's not conditional. You don't have to watch my podcast, but if you do, I have said before, I can't do this alone. I can't defend the Constitution by myself. And I know there's millions of people out there who do defend it every day, especially our men in uniform, men and women in uniform. And so I'm just one of many. But I would like you to join with me and go down this road and gain a deep appreciation for our Constitution. So, with that, I would like to stop and do what I said I would try to remember every podcast to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I know that's old school, but we will talk about that in depth later on. So, let's do that right now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, if you are interested in my podcast, I would appreciate it if you watch 2 episodes and think you'll watch the third. Uh, I would hope that you will share this with at least 5 other people. And if they in turn like it, they could do the same. And then my class size will expand exponentially. So your help is needed to get this going. So please, take that time, talk it with your friends, your neighbors, whoever, and just say, hey, this guy's teaching a course on the Constitution. Take a look. He goes pretty deep into this subject. So if you can help me along, I would very much appreciate that. In the last podcast, the last episode, episode 3, I was talking about the preamble of the Constitution, and then my time ran out in about the middle of it, and so I would like to finish up with that today. So this will be the episode for final production on the preamble to the Constitution. As we were talking in the last episode uh, about the preamble to the Constitution, this preamble, kids, just so you know what that word means, is the introduction. But it's more than just an introduction to the Constitution that, hey, this is what we did, and this is why we want you to support it. It's really more than that. It goes deeper than that because um, they talk about it as a mission statement. What's a mission statement? Well, that tells the audience, tells the viewers, tells the people, hey, this is what it's about. This is what we're trying to do. And so they just give you a little wink at what's coming, and it is a lot. In this preamble, the words don't look like many words or sentences, but they are profound and they run deep, and we just can't gloss over it. So I want this to be my launch point. So I'm going to go back and talk about some of these ideas again. Okay, here it is. We the people. Okay, so we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That's a big mouthful. Let's begin at the beginning with we the people. We the people sounds simple. It's like, well, I guess they're doing this for the people. No, the people, we the people are sovereign. And I explained that in the last podcast. Real quick, I'll go over it again. As you can see, the word sovereignty, it means authority. It means where the power lies, and it lies with the people. So the people are the ones who are responsible at large for establishing this Constitution. They ratified it, which means they accepted it. All of the states ratified it in convention, all 13 of them, and it became our new form of government. Now, here was the exciting moment at the beginning of the Constitutional Convention when James Madison introduced his Virginia plan, which was a plan of a constitutional government involving many, many democratic principles, and the basis of which is called republicanism today, that I'll explain more in a minute. So we the people, we were the sovereign. We gave, through conventions, we delegated, let's say that, we delegated or gave some powers, limited powers, to this new government. We just didn't open up the book and say, hey, there you go, take everything you want and we'll keep what remains. Didn't happen that way. We gave them specific powers and no more without the consent of the people, okay? Again, I think that's important. It was a limited government with limited powers, and if they breached those powers, amendments could be offered to change or clarify what they meant. And so over time, in conventions, we have added 27 amendments, which are changes to the structure of our government. It's just not a law like we see being passed every day. No. This changes the whole framework somewhat. It doesn't do it in totality, but it changes it in a very big way, because once it's in there, it's very difficult to take out, to delete. You can't just push a button and delete it. So, and to make that point, it's only been done one time with the amendment on prohibition of alcohol, which they did delete. So it has happened. But we'll get into all of that later on. But for now, I think what we need to focus on, again, is we the people and who holds the sovereignty or the power. They do, and they made that clear very early on when they went to conventions to ratify this Constitution. Now, they did that for an obvious reason. The United States of America geographically was a very, very big area, and it took days and weeks to get to Philadelphia to set in on this convention. And so they obviously knew that everybody couldn't show up. They didn't have a building big enough, so they had to go into convention and nominate delegates. And those delegates would be sent to Philadelphia to preside over the Constitutional Convention. Okay? Early on, right at the beginning, Madison came in with a plan. And I'm sure we I know that things were done and said and planned, beforehand, obviously. And so he came in, and when there was a quorum, which is enough people there to be able to continue officially, and once that quorum came together, they were excuse me, Madison was able to present his Virginia plan, which outlined a new constitutional framework of federalism. And we'll talk about federalism and what that is down the road, um, and go down that road and take a look at that. But I think for now that's probably enough on sovereignty. Let's move on to the mission. What was the mission statement? What were they intending to do? What were they trying to do? Well, as I said, they were trying to form a more perfect union. And they did a really good job of that. But they left a lot of things out, and they knew it. Some was they figured that, posterity, that future generations would change things and add things as need be. They didn't want to tie their hands and make it impossible for them to deal with future problems. They had no idea that, today that we would be looking at airplanes flying over and AI intelligence research going on. They had no idea of this. And remember, that was only 6 generations ago, but a lot has happened since that time. So let's go on. Um, so in this preamble, we've got a more perfect union. But who was omitted? And we will talk a lot about that. Well, women didn't have a voice in this unless they were able to bend their husband's ears, like John Adams's wife did. Abigail, she was really the first woman suffragist in the United States. She bent his ear a lot and was able, and he listened, but not much he could do at the time, and we'll talk about those things. Um, what about another group of people who were omitted? What about Black people? What about that? They were also omitted, and we will go into that in great detail. I don't want to leave anything out. I want to, as an historian, you have to present all the perspectives that people are looking for. When I said that just a second ago about women, those who listened to this podcast will go, okay, all right. Now, there may be a degree of fairness here, I hope. And I hope there will be much, much more of it to come. But what about other groups? What about the American Native Indians? What about that group? They didn't receive citizenship until 1921, I believe. And so that was a long, long history where we ignored and excluded an entire group of people with proud heritage, and have given much, much, much back since they gained citizenship. They have given much back to this country and to this Constitution. And they should be proud of that, and so should we. But another group that really kind of took it on the chin hard, but has remained kind of silent. I don't know if it has to do with their cultural background or their societies. I'm not exactly sure, but the Chinese, the horrific discrimination that they received when they came to America. They were just looking for a fair chance, and they were beaten down terribly and went into their own little communities within these cities for self-protection. There were times when bands roamed around town and beat them up and killed them. So there is all of that omission. And we'll talk about the reasons why things were omitted and we'll try to dive in. I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't get totally into the minds of people like Madison and Jefferson, but a lot was said or not said about slavery, and we will look into to those issues. So let's go on now. So we were talking about you know another thing here that we need to bring up in the preamble is justice for all. Okay, that's quite an ideal. Boy, justice for all. Well, it's quite obvious that a lot of these groups that I'm talking about did not receive justice. But again, they knew we had to start somewhere with a more perfect union, and that it's very difficult to overcome prejudice overnight. Hate. Hate is it's like a cancer that can get into our minds and hearts and destroy our humanity. And it is difficult to relieve. And I will try to do my best at this podcast to keep my mind open to all the different perspectives as we go along. If I leave something out that you want to know about, hey, we'll dive into it together. Okay? So we've talked about this issue. Let me go on and talk about something else here, because they go on in the preamble to say, not just are we looking for justice for all, but we're looking for domestic tranquility. What's domestic tranquility? Okay, well, their vision of that was that Americans would live and learn to live peacefully, in harmony. That's part of that pursuit of happiness that Jefferson talks about. And just being able to get along with your neighbor and realize you might differ with them on many different issues, political issues, financial issues, whatever it might be, just neighborhood issues. But if we can't get along with our neighbor next door, how can we get along as a community? It's not going to be perfect, but just a hey, how you doing this morning? Hi. Hey, open up the opportunity to speak to your neighbor. Um, I have a friend. His name's Steve, and when we go anywhere with him, he is constantly saying, "Hello, hello, good morning, hello," and it just opens it up. Many people they'll come right back and say good morning to you, have a great day, whatever. But it's just nice to hear that kind of thing. It really is. So domestic tranquility. So we don't want people to hate us. We don't want people to use anger to injure us or to hurt us or to kill us. And so, you know, this government was established fundamentally to protect us against harm. How do you do that? You do that with, back then, they did it with militias. They did it with local constables or policemen, as they were called later on, or sheriffs, as they were called back in English history, or the modern sheriff. And so, communities began to establish this to, again, ensure domestic tranquility. Now, it wasn't just domestic tranquility, but also foreign defense, that this national government, one of its principal reasons for existence, is to protect us against harm from our enemies. Now, we have tried many times to promote ourselves as a country of peace and justice for all and getting along with the world community. And we have many, many friends out there, many, many allies. Like any group of neighbors, sometimes, something happens and people get a little concerned or riled up. And that is the case with nations. But we have tried to maintain good connections, good communication with these countries. And I think it's really, really interesting to mention the fact that more than 200 countries in the world have copied parts of or most of our Constitution because we have proved in a little under 250 years that people can govern themselves. Okay? Again, it's not perfect. We keep trying to improve on that. But I think as neighbors next door or being at a meeting or an assembly of people that are talking politics or financial matters or whatever it might be, that we have to not only give our views, but we have to listen with an open heart and an open mind. If we don't, pretty soon it tumbles into rage, and rage politics as we see today, which we'll talk about. This is again, the rage is a cancer. Rage is hate, and it's a cancer. It's a disease that can attack our minds and bodies and hearts, and we have to resist that. Because remember, at the end of the day, we're all in that USS Constitution traveling back in history to find the founders, all of the founders beyond the 57 at the Constitutional Convention, all of those who gave us ideas for this great and wonderful document so we could have self-governance. So we've talked about the purpose, some of the purposes of government as it was expressed here. They also talk about justice for all. And as I've said, that didn't happen. At times, and again, it wasn't the document that failed. It was the people that represented that document. It was the politicians that failed us. It was, even at the local level, people in various public positions who have failed us. They were corrupt. They didn't have a good moral compass, and so we had to struggle through that. So those are the things that we've had to do to keep the ball rolling forward, is to be vigilant and to vote those people who do a poor job or are downright just corrupt. We vote them out. That's what we do as good citizens. Now, what kind of government were they establishing? Well, it mentions here the Constitution. Okay, so what is a Constitution? It's a document, a written document that includes powers that have been delegated by the sovereign, by we the people, delegated to this government on a limited basis to have self-governance, which means they're there to set policy, to make hopefully moral and just laws for all, and to not just that, but implement these laws on a fair and equitable basis. So that is really just, I think we can add one more thing here, because it talks about the general welfare. Okay, they left that, you can see that's a wide, sweeping, open statement, the general welfare. Well, at the time, I think that they were leaning on Jefferson's idea of the pursuit of happiness, so that a government that would be free enough that it would allow the citizens to basically have self-governance, self-control, as mom and dad said, hey, we're working on this. You're going to go out and become an adult someday, and you've got to learn some self-control. That means you've got to establish, some basic rules of fairness to yourself and to your friends, and you don't go beyond those. You abide by the rules. That's part of of this self-governance. And so, the general welfare is also about opportunities. Okay, many, many opportunities. They wanted to leave it wide open so that we could be the best that we can be. And we have that opportunity. If you have a strong moral compass, if you have a good work ethic, you will work to achieve those things you want to achieve by choice. Okay, that takes us back to freedom. Choice. We make these choices. Do you decide to do well in school, to study every night, to work hard, to get good grades, so that you can take that next leap forward and maybe go to college, universities, maybe not. Maybe you go right into a skilled craft, or you go to work for someone, and eventually, through hard work, you work your way up through the business. And that's incredible, to have that. And that laid forth really the basis of capitalism, which we will talk about, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We will talk about it. But why do you think so many people have come here? They've come here because they know if they work hard and they make good choices for themselves and their family, that they will improve their lot. Okay, they will improve their lot. I think we really have a poor idea or little idea how much suffering there is in the world, in our own hemisphere, in the Latin American countries, in places right here in the United States, but Central and South America, south of the border, many, many, many countries in Africa, they suffer from war, famine, drought, you name it, disease, all kinds of problems that they face. And, they hear about this opportunity here in America and they go, man, I want to get on the bandwagon. I want to join in. I want to become a part of that. And so, if you just look at those things, you can go, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that that I can't blame everybody else about my failures? That I got to take some responsibility here? That's exactly the point. And it starts in elementary school. You have to be disciplined. You got to do your homework. You've got to be prepared when you come into class, for whatever's coming at you, whether it's math or science. You've got to have read up on it, and be ready. And you do that day in and day out, and you see good things happen. Good things open up, and good things happen for you. And there it just takes off from there. But don't lose hope. I'm telling you, do not lose hope in these opportunities. This Constitution will provide you much more than anyone out there is trying to tell you differently. Okay? We've come a long way. We can't hold all of those great leaders, some of who have fallen, have been assassinated, to help each and every one of us. We must keep them in our minds and hearts as we go along. So, uh, what else? Well, I can't believe it. Think about this. They also talked about, this Constitution for ourselves and for our posterity. Oh my God. For future generations, they were looking forward. It wasn't just about them. They wanted everyone to have these universal freedoms or liberties. Everyone. Okay? They wanted this opportunity for all. Now again, they knew that at the time that it was limited, but they were hopeful. And it came fast in many northern states. Pennsylvania was one of the leaders in this expanding freedom, to reach out to all people. And we'll look into a lot of those kinds of things that happened. People who had to fight a lifetime, to win suffrage and the right to vote. We'll go into all of that and we'll talk about those things. But for now, Think about it. The posterity. Here they were, 6 generations ago, and they were looking forward as to giving that promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to ourselves and our posterity. Incredible, incredible, absolutely phenomenal. Um, Now, this uh, convention in Philadelphia, the Constitutional Convention, ended on September 17th, 1787. And when Benjamin Franklin left the building, he was walking. And, everybody in town probably knew who he was. And so one of the passersby said, "Mr. Franklin, what kind of government do we have?" And he said, "We have a Republican government if you can keep it." We have a Republican government if you can keep it. What did he mean by that? He meant that all of us would have to give a little to get a lot. What do I mean by that? You have to become a good citizen. You have to obey the laws. I know some of them you don't like. We've all probably violated a law or two along the way, but that brings back that harmony and domestic tranquility that I talked about. Now, what did Franklin mean then about Republican? Okay, it's not like a Republican, that's in office today exactly, nor a Democrat. Um, what he was referring to there is what we'll be talking about shortly, going way back into history, uh, the idea of republicanism. Republicanism is a representative democracy, okay? It is a representative democracy. They knew that the country was simply too large, and with over 4 million people, not everybody could come to one place to vote once a month or every 2 weeks. That people had to be elected, they had to become delegates, and eventually maybe preside in Congress as a congressman or as a senator or in some other form. So it became known early on as a Republican democracy. So we have a written constitution with this idea of republicanism, with a lot of democratic principles that were placed in the Constitution, which we will talk about. I am almost out of time here today. I hope that I circled back on this particular subject of the preamble. We'll come back to it later on in many episodes ahead. We'll come back to it. But next, we will dive deep into history. We will go back to, in the next podcast, I will go back to Moses, and we will talk about the 10 Commandments and their impact on these notions of republicanism and constitutionalism and so forth. We'll go back there and start, because we all have to have a moral compass. With that, I wish you well. Hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening to this old man. I know I'm half crazy for doing this, but I really think that I owe a lot. And so for that, I will leave it there for now. And I hope that you will sit down with your children. I hope they will listen to this podcast. I hope you will listen to it and sit down and talk about these ideas. There goes the buzzard. My time is up. You have a great day, and let's pray that the fires in the Pacific Northwest and throughout the country will end, that no one will be harmed. So with that, you have a great day, and we'll see you in my next episode. This is episode 4. My next will be 5, and we will have that available shortly. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great day. Bye.